Hey y'all, I'm Taylor Bridges. I am here with a book review of The Boyfriend by Freida McFadden. She is one of my favorite authors for thrillers. I've read a ton of her books, which I will be reviewing. But without further ado, let's just get right into the book because it is tea. Okay, wait, let me grab a glass of wine. Hold on. Got my glass of wine. It's that good. Pull up a glass of wine and let's get started. Okay, so before we start chapter 1, there's some much needed context that the book is told from two different points of view. One point of view is Sydney Shaw, the other point of view is Tom. Sydney Shaw is present day, right? A present day perspective. She is, I don't know, so let's say anywhere from like 28 to 37, somewhere in there. I don't remember specifically, but she's an accountant. She's the only child. She lives in New York City. She is on dating apps, and that's where she's getting the crux of her dates. She has two best friends. One is Gretchen. The other is Bonnie. Okay? That's that. I know Gretchen lives in her building. And then, I don't remember if Bonnie lives in the building, but I do know they all met, if I'm not mistaken, at a Pilates class. Okay, there's that. Tom is past tense. This is like his past self when he was younger, and it's gonna all make sense when we bring it present day. But this is getting a lot of context into who he is and why he is the way he is. But he's 18, he's in high school, and he's like this tall, nerdy guy. He has a best friend named Slug who everyone's grossed out with. Apparently Slug like is really into bugs and eats bugs and also like just, I guess, appears a little dirty. Tom's actually into blood, which is gonna make sense as we get through the book, but he's into blood heavily. He's like really into it. So science class is his best friend. Like I mentioned, he's tall, skinny, scrawny, nerdy. So those perspectives it's very needed information, okay? So let's just get right into chapter 1. Okay, so chapter 1 starts with Sydney heading out on a date with this guy she met on a dating app. His name is Kevin. She arrives to the date, I think a little early. She's sitting at the bar waiting on him to show up. He shows up to the bar. And the restaurant. He shows up to the restaurant, pats Sydney and is like, hey, this is me, I'm Kevin. He looks nothing like his profile picture. Like, it's literally not him. Not like it's like a 10-year-old photo. It's literally not him. So we're already like, he's a weirdo, right? It's not him. So they get to the table and Kevin's like, oh, Sydney, you're so perfect. You're so beautiful. You're all these things. But then he comments that her arms are flabby. Okay. Weird. So then the waitress comes over, takes her orders and stuff, and when the waitress walks away, Kevin compliments the waitress's arms, like she has nice arms. It's just like, this is all like very weird starting off. Sydney orders a Diet Coke, Kevin orders a beer, and he's like, why don't you drink? He's kind of like pressuring her to order a drink. But Sydney doesn't drink on first dates because she doesn't want to be impaired. She wants to be able to focus, yada, yada, yada. But he's like being rude about it and creepy about it. It's like, why are you so pressed about her ordering alcohol? Like, if she wants a Diet Coke, let her have a Diet Coke. He orders these hot wings. He is legitimately eating them so sloppily. It's like all over his mouth. It's all on his shirt at this point. And it's just like, this is gross. You are gross. You have no tableside manners, and you're already creepy, and you are not the person in the picture. That's that, okay? I don't even know why she continued going on this date, but she's there. I don't know. I wouldn't have. I'd be like, this is not like, I would have called it out. Like, this isn't you. Talk about this. But when she tried to call him out on it, he's like, that is me. That's me. It's me. It's like, it's not though. It's literally not. So I'm gonna go because you're weird. So Sydney wants to say this is what she gets. So she had told Gretchen, one of her best friends, like, yo, call me like 45 minutes into the date so that, you know, just in case it's going bad, I could be like, oh shoot, my homegirl needs me, I gotta go. Gretchen's call is nowhere to be found. And to me, you got one job, best friend. You have one job. Show up, call. It's a 5-second call. Hey, everything good? Mm-hmm. Oh, girl, you tripped and fell and broke your hip. Oh, I'm on the way. Done. But Gretchen's at the apartment with her boo, all booed up, you know, chilling. So she gets carried away with time and doesn't show up. But I'm like, even if you're chilling with your boo, y'all watching a movie on the weekend, you set your alarm. What is it to just call your homegirl real quick? Hey, what's up, y'all? Y'all good? You good over there? Blah, blah, blah. And keep it pushing. So I was side-eyeing Gretchen a little bit because I'm like, it's really not that difficult, especially if you agreed to do it. If you didn't agree to do it and you like, I don't know, I'm be a little busy, that's a different story. But you told your homegirl, Sydney, that you were going to do this. So show up. It's not that difficult. So Sydney says she has to go use the restroom really quick. So while she's in the restroom, then Gretchen calls. And Sydney, like, but now it's like 45 minutes too late. She's like, dude, what's up? You were supposed to been call me. But of course, she was comfortable with her man. So that's what was happening. Sydney goes back out to the table. The bill is already on the table. And Kevin slides the bill over and is like, basically like, I pay my half, you pay the other half. And that's tacky. I don't care. We'll be in 2025. All we want is tacky. You ask for this date, first date, you pay for it. It's just that simple. And on top of that, Sydney had a salad and a Diet Coke. Kevin had 4 or 5 beers, wings, all this stuff. So even splitting the bill isn't even like a real split. You know what I mean? Because she had like $15 to $20 worth of food and you lived it up. Which is why I don't see what it was to just pay extra $20 to cover her and then tip and call it a day. But Kevin's tacky. Kevin isn't Kevin from the app in the first place. So Kevin is giving all the red flags, right? So she's about to go walk home. Kevin's like, let me walk you home. Sydney's like, no. She has a rule against affection and stuff like that. Any type of physicality on the first date. And definitely not, you know, them coming up to her place or whatever. So she's like, no, I got it. But he's insisting. In my head, I'm thinking, just call an Uber, Sydney. How about you don't tell him you're calling an Uber. Call an Uber. And then when it's there, you're like, bye. Mwah, good day. Talk to you later. Out. That way, he doesn't have time, like, follow you, track you, all those things you can move about. But Sydney's crazy. And she obliges eventually for this creepy dude to walk her home. Her plan is to stop at like another apartment building outside the steps and then be like, hey, yeah, I'm home, goodbye. And then go about her way and then actually walk home. But he's already shown that he's like kind of weird. So I didn't think that this was like foolproof. I was like, you just better off calling a car, especially if you're down the street, that car should be like less than $10. Call a car. He can't keep up with the car on foot. You know what I mean? And you can even ask the Uber driver to circle the block one time just to create some extra distance. But she lets him walk her home. When they get in front of the building that's not really Sydney's apartment, he's insisting he's being a can I get a hug type of dude. You know, can I get a hug? Can I get a kiss? Can I get a something? Dude, mind you, they're describing him to have had, he got wing sauce all on his shirt. He didn't pay for the date. And you think you're about to get anything? Like, are you cool? Are you okay? What are you talking about? Absolutely not. So then he starts being a little forceful, a little aggressive. And he's like, oh, you being a tease. I'm just like, you are creepy AF. Like, this is ridiculous, actually. Like, this is not even cute. It's too much going on. Eventually, she decides to knee him in the groin. And he's like, oh, I should sue. He's talking about he should sue her for assault. He should sue her for assault. Then, thankfully, a stranger is walking by, a man, and he's like, yo, is everything okay over there? What's going on? He's like, I'm just gonna call the police. So then Kevin's like, no, don't do that. So that's what causes him to like back down and just let it go and pretty much walk away. But apparently this stranger that was walking by is super fine. Sydney finds him very hot, and she was hoping that he would ask for her number, but he didn't. But at least we got Kevin gone. And so now she's able to walk home to her actual apartment and get upstairs. I work to the perspective of Tom. So like I said, in school, Tom is like this super nerd. He's really into blood. He loves science class. Slug is his best friend. Nobody likes him. Everybody finds him gross. Tom does have a crush on Daisy. Daisy is like this cute, popular girl around the school, but apparently she's like really nice. She's like the nice girl, type of popular girl. And she has a best friend named Allison. Allison's like the hater. You know, mean, attitudinal, nobody like her. They like Daisy and, you know, Allison in the background all the time, not getting no love because she's rude. It would be ideal if Tom and Daisy could have each other, and then Allison and Slug, who are the best friends, that they could have, that, you know, they could get together and that would make it a whole thing, but that's just not happening here. Even though Tom is like really nerdy and all of that, the cool thing is Daisy actually likes him back. There was a girl around the school named Brandy who went missing not too long ago. And Tom used to tutor her. after school. So Daisy clocked it and was like, yo, you used to tutor Brandy during this time. Now that you're free, can you walk me home? So he's walking her home. It's a vibe. They're feeling each other. They're liking each other. And then when they get to the door, they're about to go in for a kiss. But then Daisy's dad, Officer Driscoll, and he's like the chief of police. He walks up, kind of ruins the moment. He's like, hey, y'all, what y'all up to? You know, that kind of thing. But he does actually have an affinity for Tom. He thinks Tom is a nice guy, cool kid. So he's actually like, you know, one day soon we'll have you over for dinner. My wife will cook. We're excited. You know, you can tell he likes Tom for his daughter. So at least that much is happening. Okay, when Sydney gets into her building, one of her best friends, Bonnie, remember this, Bonnie and Gretchen. Bonnie's sitting on the first floor, like texting this guy, smiling, just all into it, right? When she looks up at Sydney, she's like, oh my God, Sydney, you got blood coming out your nose and all that stuff. Sydney has willow disease, which causes all these extreme nosebleeds. She's been having it since she was a little girl, and there will be more information about it later in the book, okay? But Sydney thinks like, okay, well, this must be why fine mystery guy did ask for my number, because I probably was bleeding at the nose. Once they kind of handle that and Sydney kind of cleans herself up, Bonnie's like texting away at her phone, smiling from ear to ear. And she's like saying how she's been dating this guy for over a year. And he's supposed to be this like super. So let me say this, hold on. Between Sydney, Bonnie, and Gretchen, Bonnie's supposed to be the hot one of the group. She's the one that always has like a million dates lined up. She gets all the guys she wants, right? That's Bonnie's character within the friend group. So this supposed hot doctor is supposed to be the bee's knees and all of that, even though you've been dating him a little over a year and your friends haven't met him, nor have they don't even know his name, because you just I guess call him Bay or whatever, but they don't know his name. But she's like, even though they just mostly hook up, she's starting to kind of feel real feelings and she wants more with him, but she thinks he's a commitment phobe. But because of the type of night Sydney's had on the date with Kevin, she's like really not up to have this kind of conversation. So she ends up, you know, going upstairs to her apartment to clean herself up. And then her mom ends up calling her. So like Sydney's dad died from a heart attack a few years back. So it's just her and her mom. And her mom is just like constantly worried about Sydney, like having companionship, having children, you know, things of that like. But Sydney finds it like to be quite pressuring. And, you know, I see both sides. I'm like, you know, your mom is just worried about you. You're the only child. You know, when she's gone, she's going to be like, who do you have? And I think that's a valid concern with her being the only child and single. And then also know for Sydney, it's like, Mom, I'm trying, actually. It's just like, I have creepy weirdos who I match with on dating apps and they show up to not be themselves, and then they split the bill, and then they have dirt all on their shirt and they try to harass me and assault me. So the pool is looking a little kind of wild out here, Mom, but I am trying, you know. So I do empathize with that whole thing. The next day, Gretchen, Bonnie, and Sydney are at their yoga class. I think I said Pilates earlier, but it's a yoga class. After yoga class, they agree to go to a coffee shop to catch up. And Gretchen is kind of squealing over Randy and how great he is. Bonnie and Sydney despise Randy. It's not like he's done anything to them. They just get like creepy vibes from him. They just feel like his energy is off-putting and weird. This is all gonna matter, okay? But that's how they feel about him. He hasn't particularly done anything. They're just like, we don't get a good vibe off of him. We don't know what it is, but we not really liking it. Okay, so back to Tom. So Tom and Slug are walking home from school. Slug's trying to get the tea on what happened between Tom and Daisy the day prior, but Tom is being kind of closed up about it. I don't know. I feel like I tell my friends that kind of stuff, but I get it. You just want to protect it. I get it. Fine. They get to the crib. The door's already slightly open at Tom's house. They walk in. It's the parents in the kitchen. The dad is supposedly some like alcoholic, and he's very violent and aggressive towards the family, especially the mom. He's physically abusive. He's like one of those, right? So the dad, I guess, like calls Slug a cockroach. He's like, oh, you brought your cockroach friend over. I'll be home later. And he walks out the door while drunk, slurring at the lips. So whatever. So they left home with the mom. The mom does speak to them, but she keeps her back turned to them because she has bruises on her face because she just got her behind beat. So they go upstairs, and Tom is like venting to Slug like, yo, I would love to just off my dad, basically. I would love to off him. And Slug's like, why don't you? Why don't you off your parent? Why don't you just kill him? Tom is taken aback. Because he's like, I just told you y'all want to do this to my parents and you didn't even bat an eye, apparently. Like, that's a pretty dark thought to have towards a parent, and you just like, do it then. So, just hold on. Okay, so back to Sydney and her girls. So they're finishing up the gossip session at the coffee shop. And while they're finishing, Gretchen's like, okay, I'm about to head over to the art exhibit because she was trying to get ready for her upcoming like art exhibition that's coming up, right? So Bonnie and Sydney walk back to Sydney's apartment. They are literally walking up to the apartment, and guess who's sitting on the stoop? Kevin. Creepy, wings on the shirt, split the bill on a first date, assault on a first date, Kevin. Talking about, give me another chance, you're making a mistake, and all this and this. Thankfully, because Sydney's doing this nice girl stuff, and that kind of stuff always irks me in books and movies. Like, what are you doing? Set boundaries, call it a day. Like, you would have been in clank messing with me. What are you talking about? Get off of my stoop. Get away from me. The first time I say it, and I'm not repeating myself. Thankfully, she has Bonnie with her. Bonnie's like, bro, I'm about to call the police. Like, you need to go now. So they get in. Randy's there. Randy is Gretchen's man. Remember, Gretchen is over at the art exhibit setting up for her show. He's also the super for the building, for the apartment building. So he's like the maintenance man. And even though Sydney's like, he's not my type, which he don't have to be because that's your friend's man, so he don't have to be your type. But she's like, he's not my type, but I do see moments why, like there are moments where I see why Gretchen would like him, right? So Bonnie does live in the building. Bonnie's like, her toilet, she told Randy, she's like, my toilet has been clogging. Can you come fix it, check it out? He's like, yeah, I'll be over there in the morning. So when Randy walks away, Bonnie tells Sydney, I don't want to be left alone with Randy by myself. Sydney, can you come by my apartment in the morning while he's over there and just be in the apartment with me while he's looking at my toilet? So Sydney's like, of course, for sure. So that's the plan. So the next morning, Sydney's bright and early at Bonnie's apartment door to get there before Randy comes in to fix the toilet. So she's knocking on the door. Bonnie's not answering. She's calling her phone, not answering. She can't hear footsteps in the apartment. She is like, what's going on? Randy shows up ready to work. And so Sydney's like, yo, can you just open the apartment? Because now I'm worried. Like, she's not answering the phone. She knows I'm coming. And she's not answering. So Randy's like hesitant about it because he knows that Bonnie doesn't like him. But Sydney's like insisting. So he does. So when they get in the apartment, it's quiet. Randy's going straight to the restroom so he can do his job and leave. So Sydney uses that opportunity to call Bonnie's phone again. She can hear the vibrating in the bedroom. Goes to the bedroom. Baby, what she sees in that bedroom had her jaw on the floor. Okay. I know it's getting juicy. Hold on, real quick. Let's go back to Tom really quick. Tom and Daisy walking home. This time around, they actually kiss. Okay, let me just say that. They actually kissed this time, so now things are getting heated. She asks him if he can come help volunteer at the health fair that weekend. He says he will. So there's that, okay? Boom, done. Now we back. Let's get back to the tea. Sydney, when she walked into that bedroom. Bonnie dead, y'all. She's dead. On that bed. Murdered. Sydney's in shock. Randy's the one who calls the police. Police come, they're trying to ask questions. Sydney can hardly contain herself to answer questions. In walks the door, the lead officer on the case, Jake. Jake is Sydney's ex-boyfriend. You will get more context on that. But for all intents and purposes, right here and now, that's her ex-boyfriend. So he's asking her questions, but because Bonnie, this is why telling your friends your dates and stuff is important, because Bonnie can't even, Sydney can't even give so much information about this dude because Bonnie never said his name. All she knows is that he's a doctor. That's it. She doesn't know his name, nothing. And apparently, Bonnie and this mystery dude have been communicating via a burner phone. So you can't even trace his whereabouts. Sydney actually brings up to Jake that Randy is a viable suspect. All because you find him creepy. or you don't vibe with him, let me say that. She thinks he's a suspect. But Jake says that Randy actually has an alibi. He was with his girlfriend, Gretchen, the night before. But Sydney says that Jake is really great at his job. So when Jake assures her that they're going to find out who did this and what happened, she's like, okay, fine. I'll trust you to do that. So, but dang, Randy catches strays. It's like, that's a big accusation. Like, he murdered somebody? Like, what is, like, even his motive? Okay, so let's go over to Tom really quick. Tom is on the way to the health fair. His mom let him drive her car over, and she's kind of like prying into like, what's going on with you and Daisy, you know, yada yada yada. He's embarrassed, but she's just doing what moms do. Like, what's going on? What's the tea? She's really just concerned that he knows what to do for like Valentine's Day, birthdays, you know, as far as getting flowers and chocolates and stuff like that. You know, just know how to court a woman and treat a woman. But he doesn't want to talk about it. So fine. So he gets to the health fair. Here we go. Allison, the Hayden friend that's lonely. Already giving him the third degree, trying to be attitudinal, and he ain't even done nothing yet. But thankfully, Daisy does walk over, pulls him away, and starts introducing him to people. And so she asks if he wants to do the drawing of blood, which is great for Tom because Tom loves blood. But wait, when Daisy's introducing Tom to people, she introduces him as her boyfriend. And that catches him off guard and makes him like, oh my God, like, this what we doing? But it was in a good way. Like, he's happy about it. He's like, wow. So when she's trying to teach him about, you know, drawing blood, he's just a little distracted because he's excited. So when he does a trial of drawing blood, he's not really doing it well. So Daisy's like apprehensive, like, are you sure you want to do this? But he assures her that he's got it. He can do it just fine. And so she eases up and lets him do his thing. All right. Back to Sydney. Sydney and Gretchen are sitting in Sydney's apartment, just kind of like reminiscing about Bonnie, grieving, you know, having girl time, drinking wine, all that kind of stuff. Gretchen brought a scrunchie that belonged to Bonnie that she says that Bonnie left in Gretchen's apartment. That scrunchie is going to matter, okay? So, even though Sydney wants Gretchen to stay a little longer, Gretchen wants to get back upstairs to her man, okay? Because they live together and that she wants to be over there. So, you know, what can you do? So Sydney's alone in her apartment, so she starts searching the Cinch app again, and she's like, let me see if Jake is on here. She finds him. And so because him being on the app indicates that he's single, she goes ahead and calls him. And he picks up, and they're, you know, exchanging pleasantries, and she's trying to talk about the Bonnie case, but he lets her know, you know, I can't really talk too much about it because it's an ongoing investigation, and because of his profession as a cop, he can't do that. But he does, you know, tell her like, yo, remember to put the boat lock the doors, all those things, because apparently the person who killed Bonnie, it's a string of murders. They found some fingerprints. They just don't have anyone to match it to. But it is a string of murders because there were other victims, I want to say, I don't remember exactly how many, maybe one or two others, that also had a lock of hair missing when they were killed. So it's showing like a, you know, an MO. You know what I mean? Like, this is their thing when they murder women. So he's like, yo, lock the door, put the bolt lock, all of that thing. But, you know, she's assuring she got it. She's cool. And it's just like, this type of stuff irks me. Because it's like, you don't have it. You just almost got assaulted by Kevin, not Kevin, in front of your building, and you were helpless if it wouldn't have been for a stranger walking by to help you. So Jake offers to come, you know, spend the night over there, even sleep on the couch, like just come over there just to make sure she's good. But she decides against it. Maybe me, I'm like, yes. Like, I care about my safety. Like, I don't want to be around no weirdos. It's just like so frustrating. And it's like, City, like, why don't you tell Jake about the creepy Kevin guy as well? Why don't you bring those things up? Okay, yes, y'all are broken up, but clearly, you know, he's doing his job. He has a personally vested interest in you because y'all used to be in a relationship, but whatever. Sydney's annoying. So back to Tom. Tom is having a dream about Daisy cutting off her hand accidentally, and that brings him pleasure because Tom likes blood. He wakes up from it. Tom has been apparently having a lot of dreams like this about Daisy, for a while, which kind of even scares himself because he's like, what is going on? But he's actually awakened by yelling, and he realizes it's his parents downstairs having one of their altercations. He goes down there. Of course, the mom is on the floor cowering. The dad is throwing blows and going in, yelling. He's drunk, acting a fool. So Tom grabs like the fire poker and he's like threatening, like, stop, blah, 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 blah. But the dad's like, what you gonna do with that? He ends up taking it from him, and it's just basically like, you do this again, you're gonna deal with some consequences. But it's like, I don't like people like this in books and movies. You don't pull a weapon unless you're ready to use it. That threatening stuff, and then the longer you stand there pointing a weapon and threatening it, you just give it more opportunity for the person to snatch it from you, because it's clear that you're afraid to use it. And people prey on that. So Tom irritated me with that. You did more harm than good in this moment. Now you just made it worse for your mama because you ain't even do anything. You just want, but he's a kid. He's 18. So we give him grace. We give him grace. It's the day of Bonnie's funeral, and Sydney, Gretchen, and Randy are all riding in an Uber there together. They get there, they see Bonnie's mom. She's crying profusely. She's a wreck. And she does hug Sydney, but then she's like, basically, do you have any information? And Sydney's like, I don't. And for me, I'm like, girl, you don't have, like, your friend was murdered. You can't tap into your memory bank at all to think of anything, something, just any scathing detail possible. Like, this is a murder mystery, unsolved, because Jake still doesn't have any leads, and it's now been 2 months. So the mom starts getting upset because she's like, you're not helpful. Basically, you're not helpful. Like, you don't got nothing. And part of me is upset with Sydney because I'm like, dang, Sydney, tap into your memories. Other part is upset with Bonnie because it's like, girl, why would you date a guy for over a year, and not tell your friends about him? That's dangerous. And now look, you murdered and nobody has any information about it because you didn't want to tell anybody any details. Who does that? While Sydney's sitting in the congregation, she's at the front of the funeral. She happens to turn around. She sees Kevin, first date, wings on his shirt, split the bill, Kevin, in the back of the car, like in the back, standing there, like a creep. Well, at least she thinks it's him. She can't see all the way clearly because she's in the front, he's in the back, but she's like pretty sure it's him. That is creepy. Okay, back to Tom. Remember earlier I mentioned the girl Brandy who went missing at school. Well, apparently her body's been found about an hour away. A dog dug it up. So she's not missing. She's murdered. Okay. So there's a bunch of cop cars in front of the school. And so Tom links up with Slug, and Slug is like, yeah, this is what's going on. Daisy and Allison are going over because Daisy's running over to Tom's crying like, yo, this is what's happening. This is what's happening. And her dad, Chief Driscoll, is the one like investigating all the students. So they bring Tom in. The thing is, Tom was actually the last person technically, like, so, okay, wait. The thing is, Chief Driscoll is like, we know there's rumors around that Brandy had a crush on somebody at the school. Chief Driscoll doesn't know that that person is Tom. Brandy had a crush on Tom, and Brandy was last seen with Tom. But he doesn't know that yet. Chief Driscoll doesn't know that. And he's just like reassuring, like, you're the only one I trust my daughter around. You're the only man I trust my daughter with. All this and that. So, all right. Okay, back to Tom. Remember earlier I mentioned the girl Brandy who went missing at school. Well, apparently her body's been found about an hour away. A dog dug it up. So she's not missing. She's murdered. Okay. So there's a bunch of cop cars in front of the school. And so Tom links up with Slug, and Slug is like, yeah, this is what's going on. Daisy and Allison are going over because Daisy's running over to Tom's crying like, yo, this is what's happening. This is what's happening. And her dad, Chief Driscoll, is the one like investigating all the students. So they bring Tom in. Chief Driscoll is like, we know there's rumors around that Brandy had a crush on somebody at the school. Chief Driscoll doesn't know that that person is Tom. Brandy had a crush on Tom, and Brandy was last seen with Tom. But he doesn't know that yet. Chief Driscoll doesn't know that. And he's just like reassuring, like, you're the only one I trust my daughter around. You're the only man I trust my daughter with. All this and that. So, all right. So I'm annoyed because we're back to Sydney. And Sydney is confiding in Gretchen that creepy Kevin was at Bonnie's funeral. But that she doesn't want to tell Jake, her ex-boyfriend who's a cop and the lead detective on the case. And it's just like, this type of thing annoys me. Your friend is murdered. Like, you don't think any bit of information possible to lead to the case or to protect yourself is necessary? And you have a whole cop ex-boyfriend that you still have a fairly decent, affectionate relationship with. You know, like, he cares about you. You don't want to give up any piece of information that you have at all. Like, even if it turns out to be irrelevant, it's just covering bases. Who does that? So Sydney is officially got on my nerves, and I don't care. I don't care. Like, I'm annoyed with her. She just gets on my nerves. Why not speak up? You don't have a weapon. You don't have any martial arts skills. You don't have self-defense skills. Okay, so 2 months later, she's now back on the Cinch app, Sydney, and she's going on a date with this guy named Travis. Travis is supposed to be tall, handsome, cute, all those things. And the day's going pretty well. While they're sitting at this like coffee shop over their date, fine mystery guy walks in. But she's like, you know, I'm not gonna get distracted over that. I have a date right here, let me focus on this. But then Travis points out that Sydney's bleeding, her nose is bleeding. And she's like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. But before she could really even react, Travis then passed out on the floor. So hot mystery guy rushes over to help him. Apparently he's a physician. And so he's trained for stuff like this, okay? Once they get him together, Travis ain't interested in, because they were gonna leave the coffee shop to go like to dinner and continue hanging out. But now, after this, after the nosebleed, he's like, I'm not interested. Like, he's just like, I'm just gonna go home. I'm good. So he's like, you know, are we gonna talk later? He's like, no, I think we're good. I think we're good. I don't know if a nosebleed is like worthy of like ruining a day. I guess if you're just like super not into blood, like extremely. But I mean, like, we're human. Like, we don't just like nosebleed, you know, like it just happens sometimes. And she has a condition. So I felt like it was a little immature personally, but you know, I think he should be more embarrassed that he passed out over her having a nosebleed. Cause that's something she can go to the restroom, clean up. What's she supposed to do? But you passed out. Like, you're like a little girl about it. But I'm also not a person that's just like super weird about like that kind of thing. So maybe I'm being biased. So Travis leaves, doesn't even pay for the bill. Not even half. I mean, at least creepy Kevin had the decency to pay for half the bill, even though it wasn't really even based on consumption. But whatever. Doesn't even pay half the bill. But hot mystery guy / doctor pulls out some cash, enough for the bill and a tip, drops it on the table. He's like, I got it. And he's like, let me go next door to the souvenir shop to grab you a shirt because she had like blood all over her. He's like, let me grab you a shirt. She's like embarrassed. And he's like, chill, I got this. So we're like, that's a man. That's a man. So they introduce themselves. And guess who it is? Drum roll, please. Tom. It's grown-up Tom. So remember, we're doing the perspective of Tom in high school. From the past, this is grown-up Tom. Wait till you find out how this ish go. It's about to be a roller coaster. Buckle up. Okay, so we're back at the high school. Tom in high school days, okay? Chief Driscoll is letting Tom know, like, basically, well, he's asking Tom, can you walk Daisy home every day after school? I trust you. You're the only person I trust around my daughter, yada, yada, yada. So he's cool with that. So Allison, Daisy's best friend, is just getting worse and worse with her attitude. But they're also lab partners. So they're lab partners. He feels all this tension during class, and he just can't wait for it to be over. After it's over, he's ready to rush out to go see Daisy so they can walk home. But Allison's like, I need to speak to you now. She pulls them into a room, an empty classroom. And I'm like, all right. And she's like, you need to stay away from Daisy. I know that you were the last person that was with Brandy. You were the one who gave her last kiss, which is true, which is tea, because when him and Daisy kissed like a couple chapters ago, Daisy asked if it was his first time. Tom said yes, but he was lying. Brandy was his first kiss. And he enjoyed the kiss with Brandy, but he knew he liked Daisy so much. This was before him and Daisy became an item, though. But he was like, in his head, he's like, I like Daisy way too much. Like, this isn't worth it. So the next time he was going to tutor Brandy, he was going to let her know. He was going to break it to her like, yo, I'm good on you. I got some over here I'm trying to do. But she never showed up to the tutoring session. So Allison's like, if you don't break up with Allison, Allison's like, if you don't break up with Daisy, I'm going to tell Daisy that you were the last one with Brandy. Y'all kissed. And that essentially would make Daisy upset, but would also place him as a prime suspect into this whole thing. So Tom got some thinking to do. But she does agree to give him a little time. As Tom and Daisy are walking home, they're talking about college and what kind of colleges they're applying to and where they want to go. And essentially, they're insinuating that they'll go to the same college, I guess, be able to continue their relationship. And the moment gets pretty intense. He ends up telling Daisy he loves her. Thankfully, she feels the exact same, so it's all good. But it is bittersweet for Tom because he's like, dang, like, Allison gave me this ultimatum, like, I love you, and you feel the same, but essentially I'm about to have to, like, break up with you, Daisy, because I can't be seen as some, like, monster in this situation. So, and Tom is adamant on his innocence as well, so it's a little bittersweet. Okay, so while Tom / Mystery Bae / Doctor is next door getting Sydney a new shirt to replace the one she's currently wearing, Sydney's hiding out in the restroom. So he comes to the restroom, knocks on the door. He's like, here's your shirt. We're ready to go. Sydney thinks like, wow, like I was really worried about dating a doctor, especially what happened to Bonnie. But she's like, you know what? This is different. The guy Donnie was dating was probably lying about being a doctor to begin with. So this one is fine because he's been so impressive. He's been such a gentleman. He's really showing up. So she's like, I'm into this doctor for sure. Okay, so after Sydney changes shirts, they head over to this Indian restaurant to eat. So this is where things get interesting. They're talking about parents and stuff, and he mentions how his dad passed of a heart attack some years back. So Sydney's like, oh, wow, like mine's dead too. And she's looking for him to elaborate more. He clearly gets uncomfortable, and he doesn't want to talk about it, okay? Then, so they're talking about, like, work. He says he works at NYU, important detail, okay? And he mentions that when he saw Sydney that first night when she was getting attacked by creepy Kevin, he did want to ask for her number, but he had just gotten out of a recent relationship, but that it was finally over. The red flags. First of all, my ears perk up because what are the odds? The way Sydney describes him is very eerily close to how Bonnie described him. He's charming, successful, he's a doctor, Mr. Perfect, all these things, right? There are some eerily noticeable similarities between Bonnie and Sydney's stories. And then also, what are the odds that him saying he had just gotten out of a relationship? Bonnie was just murdered. And he said, basically, like, it's over. Made it very clear that this is final. Well, that would make sense because Bonnie's not alive. So I got my antennas up on Tom. I got my antennas up. I'm not telling you what's gonna happen, but like I'm not giving away what's gonna happen, but I'm just telling you as a reader, when I'm reading this, I'm like, you're a little shady. You are shady. So we're back with Tom. So Tom's mom is heading out to her sister's husband's funeral, right? So she's gonna be gone for a couple days, leaving Tom and his dad alone. So Tom gets in the house, makes himself comfortable, starts to make a steak dinner. His dad walks in drunk and is like, why can't you make me, dinner? You need to be making me dinner as well. Just being belligerent. So Tom's like, I'm not dealing with this. So he just starts to go upstairs. While he's walking upstairs, the dad starts speaking about Daisy. And that causes Tom to pause because this is high school Tom. Tom doesn't know that. He's like, how do you even know about this? The dad starts being a super weirdo, like being like, oh yeah, basically talking about her attraction and how he knows where she lives and what he'd like to do with her. He's a teenager and you're a grown man. What he'd like to do with her when he get her alone, and basically just speaking, insinuating on like taking her innocence and just being a freaking weirdo. Tom grabs a knife. The dad isn't taking it serious because we already saw what happened when Tom grabbed a weapon before. So the dad is like, going to the liquor cabinet, you know, whatever. And I'm just like, Tom, if you let this man get the upper hand on you again, I'm no longer on your side. I gave you one chance. That's it. I ain't about to just sit here and watch you play stupid with this man that clearly don't give a damn. So Tom does what we want. He gets him in the gut. He gets that dad in the gut, twists the knife. The dad falls to his knees. He's trying to call 911, but the cell phone ain't on him. Then Tom walks over, slits the throat. He slits his throat. I don't know how any human expects to treat their family a certain way, their spouse and their family a certain way with no consequences. So Tom did what needed to be done. Okay? He did what needed to be done. And the dad messed around and found out. We're back with Sydney. Sydney and Gretchen are leaving their yoga class. They had finally started going back for the first time since Bonnie's passing. And they're about to head home, and right outside the glass is Creepy Kevin. First date, Creepy Kevin that wasn't really Kevin from his photos. That guy. Wing sauce, assaults. Wing sauce all over his shirt, assaulting her, being a weirdo. The thing that irritates me about Sydney is that you don't want to call 911. You don't want to even call your ex-boyfriend, who is a cop and a lead detective, to tell him these things. You're being stalked by this guy that also like was very close to assaulting you. That seemed that it was going to be more than just physical assault. So I'm annoyed. Because I'm like, you just don't care about your life. You keep doing this frustrating dance and just setting yourself up. So whatever. But she ran into Creepy Cat. So Gretchen notices that Sydney's being a little weird about something. And that's when Sydney tells her, she's like, don't look. But this is the creepy guy that I told you was at the funeral. Like, yada, yada, yada. Gretchen wants to do more about it, but Sydney's being like, no. So, fine. Gretchen changes the subject by mentioning that her and Randy are officially moving in together. So, I don't know if I mentioned they were living together earlier, but my bad. They are now moving in together officially. And so, it turns out Gretchen did not live in the building. She was just always there because Randy, as the maintenance guy, lives in the building. Sorry, I read this book like months ago. So, some of the facts I'm having to like kind of remind myself as I go along. But yes, Randy's the one who lives in the building, not Gretchen. Gretchen's just always there because that's her man. But now she's officially moving in. She's moving to his place. And now her and Sydney will officially be neighbors. On the way home, she's on the phone. Sydney's on the phone with Jake. And so she's thinking like, oh my gosh, they must have found out like more news about who killed Bonnie, more tea. Jake's like, no, we haven't got a little closer, but there's actually another murder that had the same MO as Bonnie's and others. So this is a serial killer, essentially. So he's just basically being like, please take care of yourself. Do you need me to come over? I can bring dinner. And she's like, are you asking me on a date? Like, she's just so weird. Like, asking on a date? Girl, are you slow? Your best friend was murdered. You don't know who it is. And clearly there's a serial killer behaving this way. And then Bonnie was murdered in the same apartment building that you live in. So who wouldn't want their ex-boyfriend, who's a cop and a detective, to help take care of them and make them feel safe? Like, get over yourself. Like, Sydney is so annoying. She just gets on my nerves. She really does. Okay, back to Tom. So after Tom has slit his father's throat, he calls Slug. He's like, Slug, I need you to get over here right now. Slug's like, what happened? He's like, I can't tell over the phone. Slug's like, I'm not coming until you tell me what happens. He's like, bro, get here. Slug gets there. Tom opens the door. Slug sees Tom's dad lying on the floor. He's like, oh my gosh. And Tom's like, Slug's like, let's get rid of this body. Ain't that what you called me over here for? Tom's like, oh my God, you just bought it. Slug don't even ask me. He don't even ask me questions. He asks no questions. He ready to get to it. Tom's like, dang, I need to get some trash bags. Like, how many do you think I need? Slug's like 6. six trash bags. That's precisely my estimate there. He's like that. Tom's like, dang, like, how does he just know how many trash bags it takes to, get a dead body out the building? But anyways, so while Tom is going to get the trash bag, Slug and moved the car, backed it in, got the trunk lined up, ready to go. So they're like, okay, now we can just transport the body to the trunk and get it out of here. While they are doing that, there is someone walking the sidewalk with their dog. And guess who it is? Allison. So Allison walks by, and so Tom is like, she definitely saw us put this dead body in the back of the trunk. She knows what's going on. So he's talking to her, making small talk, and the dog she's walking is barking heavily and she was like, he only does this when there's raw meat around. But it's crazy because it's a dead body in the trunk, so it all makes sense. So Allison's like, did you do what I asked you to do, which is dump Daisy and stay away from her? And he's like, not yet, not yet. So she's walking away, and Slug is like, basically they decide that Daisy's a loose end. Slug is like, she a loose end. Like, if she heard it, then we gotta do something about it. Like, what you talking about? He was like, there's no way we can't handle Allison. She already a mean girl. She already got attitude. She saw what was happening. Eventually, she's going to put 2 and 2 together, because even if the news gets out that the dad is missing, blah, 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 she's going to put 2 and 2 together because she just walked by and all these other things came into play. So Slug is like, we got to get rid of her. So then, and he's like, we definitely got to bury your dad. Like, for sure. And Tom is like, dang, we need to get some shovels. Slug is like, I already bought some. I brought some shovels when I got over here. So Slug is prepared for all the murders of it all. So they start to think through like the whole plan of it all, because obviously Tom's mom is going to be coming home from her sister's husband's funeral in like 2 days. The dad's car is parked out front. So Tom is planning on just telling his mom that the dad went on a bender, is just acting crazy like he's done in the past. But Slug is like, what about Allison? That's a loose end. But Tom is like, we can't do anything about it. And Slug's like, are you willing to bet your freedom on that? Because are you willing to bet your freedom on that? Allison already don't like your behind. And she saw with her own eyes something she's seen too much. But Tom is feeling like he can handle it. So let's see if Tom can handle it. Okay, so Tom and Sydney are on their 3rd date. Remember, this is a Tom in present day, grown-up Tom, not high school Tom. With present day Sydney, they're grown. They had a great date. They're walking home, and she's like, oh, I brought us some tequila. We're about to have a cute night when we get home. Cool. But this is his first time up at her apartment. So they were passing up. Remember, on her date with creepy Kevin, she took him to another building, and that's where Tom rescued her when Kevin was trying to assault her. So when they passed by the building, Tom's like, "Is this your building?" He's like, Sydney's like, "No, this was just a decoy location for creepy Kevin. My real building is up the way." So they go. Tom stops in his tracks. He's like, "This is your building? Whoa!" And like he just starts to get like. His whole demeanor changes, basically. So then as they like get upstairs, he's basically like, I need to go. I got an early morning, yada, yada, yada. Whereas before, just moments before, he was totally down for the tequila. He was excited for the night, all that. So that's sketchy. So she's like, okay, you gotta go. She accidentally cuts herself while trying to chop limes for the tequila. So there's blood everywhere. Tom likes blood. So he's like, the color in his face returns, and he's no longer like freaked out, and he's just like helping her out, da. So then afterwards, he's like, do you want to take us to the bedroom? She's like, don't you have to go to the meeting? He's like, basically forget that meeting. Like, I'm here now. But we catch how Tom was getting nervous about getting to Sydney's building. That's sketchy. It's sketchy. So Tom is ready the next day for school. His mom calls and she's looking for the dad. She's like, where's the dad? Did you see him go out for work? Yada, yada, yada. Tom's like, he came home last night. Maybe he left out early for work. I don't know. I haven't seen him. The mom is a little suspicious or just like asking a lot of questions, but you know, she doesn't get too much into it. On the way to school, Tom sees another 3 cop cars outside the school. Daisy runs up to him sobbing. Allison is missing. She's missing. So now his heart sinks to his chest and he's like super worried. So Tom does end up staying over at Sydney's. They end up having sex. Sydney thinks it was really great, blah, blah, blah. So while they're like kind of cuddling after intercourse, Sydney gets a text from Jake. Tom reads it, and basically Jake was just basically like, make sure you tell me when you made it in safely. Just basically checking on her well-being because he knew she went on a date, especially like with all that's going on. So Tom's like, oh, so you're at who is Jake? And she's like, oh, that's my ex. Remember I told you that I used to date a cop. Now, the first time Sydney mentioned that, Tom stiffened up when she said her ex was a cop. And so now he's stiffening up again when she's like, remember, he's trying to like figure out the murder investigation of all of this, but we're not close. We don't really talk like that. So then to prove a point, Sydney texts Jake back and is like, my dating life is none of your business. Basically, leave me alone. And shows it to Tom so he can not worry. But it doesn't seem to really quell Tom. But it's just like, you don't know this guy. So why are you giving him so much like reassurance? This is y'all's 3rd date and your best friend was murdered in your building. She was dating a doctor. You're in bed with a doctor. Like, why are you so cool with letting your guard down? Like, just this easily. And then you have Jake, who is your ex-boyfriend, who clearly has a vested interest in you. And he's also a lead detective. Why are you being so, like, ridiculous? To me, it's just, like, not protective of yourself. And these men ain't worth it. So back to Tom. Allison is officially missing. Daisy is crying hysterically like, oh my gosh, this is not like her. She wouldn't just go missing. Like, what's going on? What's going on? So Tom is trying to console her. Tom sees Slug at his locker and so he goes over there and he's like, yo, did you hear about this? Slug's like, yeah. He acting like he don't even care. He's like, yep, I heard about it. I guess somebody took care of the problem for us. And Tom is like, dude, like, did you do it? Slug's like, no, I didn't. I didn't have anything to do with it. But no, I guess it's none of our business. So we'll have to see what happens. So now Chief Driscoll is back in the building. That's Daisy's dad. And he's now interviewing students. He's interviewing Tom. This time, he ain't as friendly as last time. He's like, yo, what's up with you and Allison? Did you know her very well? And Tom talks about her in the past tense, which was a red flag to Chief Driscoll. And then he's just like, we weren't friends. We aren't friends. We ain't cool like that. Chief Driscoll is like, well, that's not what I heard. I heard that, y'all were lab partners. And then also, she told you to stay away from Daisy. And Tom is just like shocked by that because he's like, how did this man get that information? But apparently when Allison was offed, it was like she was at her home. And apparently it looked like it was someone she knew because it seemed like she just opened the door and was offed. So now Chief Driscoll is like, you know what? I don't need you to walk Daisy home anymore. I'll be there to do it every time. So it's just giving the inkling that you don't trust Tom anymore. And Tom might be a little suspect. Tom is like, so because Chief Driscoll asked Tom, where were you last night? He's like, I was at home. And Chief Driscoll is like, were your parents there? And Tom is like, well, my mom was out of town. My dad was there. So he's like, all right, cool. I'll be giving your father a call. But the dad ain't alive anymore. So we'll see how that goes. Now we're back to Sydney and present day Tom. So they're now on like their 6th date. Now they're getting more comfortable with each other. It's cool. So we're eating at the spot. As they're walking into the restaurant, this older lady stops Tom and is like, oh my gosh, you were the doctor that helped my husband. She calls him Dr. Brewer. Mind you, Sydney knows him as Thomas Brown. So for him to be Thomas Brewer, odd. So the lady's like, Dr. Brewer, thank you so much. You touched me and my family, yada, yada, yada. And it was nice. It was a nice interaction. So Sydney's like, why does she even call you Dr. Brewer? Tom's like, that's my last name. And she's like, you told me your last name was Brown. He's like, no, I didn't. If it's me, I would not confuse Brown and Brewer. Trust me. I would never do that. You told me your last name, I remembered it. That's that. Like, you're not going to gaslight me. You're not going to convince me otherwise. It's not going to happen. I know what I heard. That's what he's trying to do. He's like, no, I definitely told you this. Maybe you weren't paying attention. And she's like, okay. So then he's like, I need to go wash my hands in the restroom before they eat. So while he's in the restroom washing his hands, she starts to Google his name, Thomas Brewer. But the only thing that pops up is Mount Sinai Hospital. Remember, in the beginning, he was supposed to have worked at NYU. Clock it. Clock it. Okay, wait. Let me say something. I forgot to mention a little earlier during one of their dates, I think it was the third date, that Sydney asked if he had ever been in love and all of that. And he did say that he was in love once, and it was with a girl from high school, but she died. Okay? That's just important. I just want to throw that out there because I didn't mention it earlier. Okay. So when Tom gets back from the restroom, Sydney calls him out on the fact that, you know, he said he worked at NYU. She was like, what hospital did you work at? What hospital do you work at? He's like, Mount Sinai. She's like, yeah, but you definitely told me NYU. And he's like, oh, I must have been so enamored with you at the moment. I slipped up and I didn't tell you because I've been recently working at Mount Sinai. All of it sounds very sketchy, but whatever. She's going for it. Me personally, I'm like, no, I'm going to need you to lay your whole entire life story out online right now because what you tell me, I will remember. I'm not just making this up. I'm not behind. You tell me it, I'm going to remember. So what was that again? But he has a great tactic for weaseling himself out of this tough spot because he basically asks her to be exclusive and only date each other, which causes her to melt and now focus on all his good qualities all over again. But Tom, my good eye is on you. So they're enjoying dinner, having a good conversation. And she's like, after this, do you want to go see a movie? And he's like, I can't. My mom's coming into town. So she's like, all right. This is my cue. Am I going to meet her? Yada, yada. And he just like gets weird. He's like, no, we've only been dating a couple months. But apparently she's brought up double dating with Gretchen and Randy as well. And he's been very weird about that too. He just makes it like, oh, we've only dated a couple months. But I'm like, y'all are grown. Like, what are we doing? Fine. So Sydney's like, what are you going to do with your mom? So Tom's like, oh, I'll probably just take her to the restaurant that you and I had gone to before. Can you send me the place again? What was the name of it? He was like, what was the name of it? So Sydney's like, I'll text it to you. Text it, his phone doesn't light up. She's like, did you get it? He's like, yeah. She's like, how? Your phone isn't lighting up. He's like, maybe my phone isn't working right now. She's like, that's weird. Maybe I'll send it again. Like, your phone isn't lighting up when I text you. What is going on? So he's like, oh, this is the phone for my patients. Mind you, Tom works with dead bodies. He's not a physician that's dealing with like live patients. He's dealing with dead bodies. So what patients are you waiting to communicate with, Tom? What number does Sydney have for you? Because it's not your main number. And who brings their work phone out only and leaves their personal phone elsewhere? It's the opposite, actually. You bring your personal phone everywhere you go, and sometimes you bring your work phone along. So Tom is sketchy, y'all. Tom's mom, in the past tense, the high school Tom, she calls and she's like, again, have you heard from your dad? He makes up a lie that he went to some bar. That seems to appease her for a little bit, but she's on the way home. She'll be home in a second now. So let's see what happens. So the morning for school, Tom gets a call from Daisy. Daisy's like, basically, Allison's body has been found in a river. Very similar to how Brandy was found, in a remote location about an hour out. And now it's just getting really spooky. But Allison is officially dead. She is officially dead. So something happened. And Tom's mom is back home and she's wondering what's going on. She heard the news about Allison, so she's feeling concerned. And she's asking Tom what happened to her rug. He's like, oh, I spilled cranberry juice on it. I had to get rid of it. She's like, why would you get rid of it? I could have just got the carpet clean. He's like, oh, I didn't know what to do. I can throw it out. So for now, she's rested with that conclusion and she's going upstairs to take a nap. But I'm pretty sure this will not be the end of that conversation. Actually, I know it will not. So Tom's mom is back home and she's kind of asking questions, you know, about what happened to the dad, yada, yada, yada. There's a knock at the door and lo and behold, it's someone from the bar that the dad used to frequent. And he's like, here's a boy's phone. So basically this is the father's phone being brought to the house. So the wife, Tom's mom, is like, okay, what's going on here? So sure enough, the mom is starting to get a little anxious and starting to really kind of wonder what the phone is about, yada, yada, yada. So she's asking Tom, like, Tom, I thought you said you hadn't seen him and all this and that. And then there's a knock at the door and it's the police. It's not just any police. It's Chief Driscoll, Daisy's dad. He's basically like, yo, what's really going on? He's starting to get suspicious. He's starting to ask questions that pretty much lead to the obvious, right? Tom killing his dad. And he's even like, you know, Tom, people have said some crazy things about you at school regarding you and Allison, regarding you and Brandy. Like you have quite the reputation, my guy. So he's asking the mom, where's the dad? Where's the dad? The mom's holding it off. Driscoll wants to come in and check the house, but he doesn't have a warrant. So the mom protects him from that. When Driscoll leaves, Tom's mom is like, go upstairs, get upstairs, leave. And then when Tom goes upstairs, he can hear his mom downstairs scrubbing the couch. Because apparently there was blood still, like blood residue still from where like the dad was passing away. Back to Sydney. So with Sydney being an accountant and all, she's been taking her clients via Zoom. So she has a client and she gets on and it turns out to be Creepy Kevin. I don't know why it doesn't just alarm her immediately to where she wants to do something about this, but here we are. And Kevin gets on. Mind you, he got on the call using a whole other alias, a whole other name that wasn't his name. And it's like, you've been here before, Sydney, when you actually saw him in person for the first time you ever interacted with him, he was not his profile picture at all. So I don't see why you're not taking this more seriously, but she's not. So her life, her choices, good for her. Kevin's like, give me another chance. My mom will be ashamed of how I'm acting towards you. Then he even insinuates how he can't only be watching her through her window, that he needs face-to-face interaction. And she's like, what? So she gets up, you know, tries to hurry shut the blinds. It's like, girl, bye. Too late. He'd already seen you. He already has access to you. You don't care. You're not doing enough about it. You won't tell Jake, who's your ex-boyfriend, who's a detective. You don't do those things. So, and it's like, you clearly have not shown any sort of like intelligence when it comes to protecting yourself, but you continue to lean on your own understanding. It is very weird. It is very much so you don't care about yourself. So fine. While she's trying to hang up with Kevin, she has to knock at the door and it's Randy. And she's feeling a little uneasy because remember, she was sort of thinking like Randy was responsible or partially responsible at least for Bonnie's murder. Remember, she suggested that maybe he was a prime suspect, but he had an alibi, but she's still not totally buying it. She's like, this is weird. I don't know. So she's just feeling uncomfortable, but he gets to the door and he's like, when she gets to the door to open it and he's there, she's like, I need to show you something. And what he shows her truly has her freaking out. It's an engagement ring. Randy is going to propose to Gretchen. And with that realization that this is where the relationship is going, Sydney realizes that she essentially can't continue to try to pin Randy for this. You know what I mean? This is her best friend's man, who's now about to be her fiance, to be her husband. And she realizes that, you know, she can't try to pin him down for this. And even maybe that it wasn't ever him. So that's where she leaves it. So Sydney is now with Tom. It's been a couple days since she's like really seen him and even like really talked to him. But now she's at his house because he agreed to cater dinner and cook dinner while she's at his home. He doesn't end up actually cooking, he ends up catering, and then there's like a mouse like playing around in the kitchen and that freaks her out. Tom's like, go to the other room, I'll handle it. he handles it by beating it with a hammer. That freaks Sydney out, but it gets the job done. So then when they're back together eating dinner, she mentions how Randy has bought a ring to propose to Gretchen, and he doesn't seem the least bit excited about that. And she's like, I'm thinking maybe, you'd be my date to the wedding. And Tom's like being totally like pessimistic, like, oh, engagements don't last that long. I bet they probably won't even get married. And it's like, dude, like, what's your issue? What is your issue here? Like, you're being weird. Like, we're going to the wedding and you're my date because you're my boyfriend. Get over it. But that's Tom for you. So, anyways, they kind of have like a little back and forth about it, but eventually he's like, all right, fine, I'll be your date to the wedding. But it's still just kind of like rubs Sydney the wrong way, just the way the interaction is going in the first place. Okay, we're at Tom. So after, the whole thing with Tom's mom cleaning up, he's just wondering how his mom even sees him to begin with. But he reaches out to Daisy. He's like, I just need to talk to you. He goes to Daisy's home and is like throwing pebbles, like, please come out. I just have to talk to you. I'm talking to you. She's like, yo, you're going to get us in trouble. Like, my dad said I can't speak to you. And did you know that Slug was actually like being a peeping Tom on Allison? Allison already told me about this right before she passed. She said she saw y'all stuffing something in the trunk with blood on your hands. So Tom is thinking, okay, well, it's a good thing that we got rid of her, or whoever got rid of her, because she would have been in trouble, if she's up here telling Daisy all these things. So Tom is like, I need to talk to you, I need to talk to you. So then, like, in the house, I guess, like, the parents are starting to awake and, like, kind of hear things. So Daisy's like, meet me at the Dairy Queen that's nearby. In the middle of the night, and that's where they're planning to go. Tom plants like a kiss on her really quick before he heads out, and they're planning to meet at the Dairy Queen to just talk some more. Okay, so while Sydney's at Tom's house, they had made love, all of that. While he's in the shower, her mom calls, and it's just basically, giving her the third degree about finding a partner, having kids, all that and that. She's getting frustrated. She hangs up. That's not important. Here we are. Let's get to the important part. So she drops her phone in between the nightstand and the bed. And while she's getting the phone, she feels something. And it is a scrunchie. She pulls it out. It is a black scrunchie. And she's like, what are the odds? Because the only person she knew that was into like these type of scrunchies was Bonnie. And what are the odds that now you have this type of scrunchie, and you're a doctor, and you're hot, and you're like all these other things that Bonnie, with the slim description that she did give, you match all of the criteria. Okay, so she uses her phone to call Tom's number. And it doesn't cause some big ring, from the restroom. It causes some vibration from a drawer. She goes to the drawer, she sees that that's what's calling. It's a burner phone. It's a burner phone. It's a burner phone. Are you catching my drift? Remember Jake and his team were like, the person who killed Bonnie has a burner phone. And then like the name that's calling, because Sydney's calling the phone, the name on it is S, just S, not even her full name, S. It's a burner phone. It's definitely not his main phone, and it definitely is not traceable, and it definitely doesn't need a passcode to unlock, because it's a burner phone. So she's able to just get in, and she's like, what the heck is going on? She does see a water bottle nearby, so she puts the water bottle in her bag, because I think she's trying to look at, like, trying to see if the fingerprints match. And right when she does that, Tom is behind her like, what are you doing? Okay. So Sydney's now feeling a little insecure, because she's like, oh my God, he just saw me. He's onto me. Because in the moment she's putting two and two together, and she's like, okay, he's totally the murderer. He's crazy. I need to get out of here. So she's like, I gotta go. I'm feeling sick. Because he's like, what's going on? Are you okay? She's like, oh, it's my period. I gotta go. He's like, here's some ibuprofen. Here's some this. And she's like, nope, it's fine. Let me just get out of here. And he's like, okay, well, before you go, at least let me call your car. So while he's sitting on the edge of the bed doing that, she's trying to hurry up and locate the scrunchie, because she doesn't have it on her. She gets it. And she's like, you know what? I don't need to call a car. I can do my own. But she's worried that he's not going to let her out of the apartment. And thankfully, he does. And she's out, and she takes a run for it. Once Sydney's home, she texts Jake, and her ex, who's a detective, and she's like, I need to talk to you ASAP. I can meet you wherever. Jake's like, I'll be at your home in 30 minutes. He shows up. She's like, here's this water bottle. Do fingerprints on it. This might help solve the case. And he's like, you got to tell me why. She doesn't want to, but he's like, that's not how that works. I can't just run fingerprints without any explanation. You need to tell me something. So she tells him, she's like, this is a person named Thomas Brewer, and basically I think he has some sort of connection to the whole Bonnie murder. So Jake's like, Dr. Brewer, he's been the medical examiner on the case thus far, and I have no reason to believe he's like some sort of creep or something. So this is like a totally surprising request, to be honest. But he obliges, and he also offers to keep a patrol car outside of Sydney's house, basically 24/7. She's like, no, I don't need it. But it's like, you do. What part of, you know what? Okay, let her have it. Okay, really quick. Tom goes to the spot at Dairy Queen where he's supposed to meet Allison. Slug is there. So Tom is like getting a little like uncomfortable because he's like, yo, did you follow me here? Slug's like, maybe I did. But that's beside the point. Daisy is privy to our conversations. Allison was definitely talking, and he's basically like, why do you trust Daisy? Like, she knows all these things. And basically it's just showing that we did the right thing by not trusting Allison, even though Slug swears that he's not the one who offed Allison. But now Daisy is in on it, and that's just like one too many people privy to what they've done, which is not technically cutting all of the loose ends, and it just leaves them very vulnerable. Okay, back to Sydney. Jake's over there to help Sydney, yada yada. Long story short, the water bottle becomes a match to Tom, to Dr. Brewer, to Tom Brewer. And that's that. So it can't be the case that they just arrest him on the spot. They have to bring him in for questioning. And so that's what Jake is planning to do. And Sydney's feeling like really stupid that she's gotten close to this guy who was like the very potential murderer of her best friend, Bonnie, who she's now been duped by and tricked into falling for. But, Jake is just assuring her that, look, we met him too, and we didn't think he was crazy either, but you have done a good deed bringing us closer to who might potentially be the murderer. Sydney goes to yoga class. The yoga teacher after class is like, the guy that you've been hanging out with, I've been getting bad vibes about. So Sydney's like, okay, this kind of validates that Tom is a creep. She gets a call from Jake. Jake's like, yes, we matched the fingerprints to Tom, but he has an airtight alibi for that night. There's even cameras. He was at work. So he's off the hook. He's not arrested for that matter. And then once again, Jake offers to, keep watch over Sydney at her apartment, but she declines. To me, I'm like, I would take all the extra help, especially in this situation, because it's like, yeah, there are too many coincidences here. I don't know why Sydney doesn't see that. It's too many coincidences here. I just want the extra protection just in case, because we watch enough of Snapped from my man, First 48. We watch enough of this to know that things could not be as they seem and still go left. So I don't know why she's just like leaning once again on her own understanding and just like letting it go. But here we are. She goes back to her apartment, and it's Tom on the staircase. Okay, so Tom, once again, he's supposed to be meeting Daisy at the Dairy Queen. So he's there. He ends up going there on foot because he doesn't want to wake his mom up. He gets there on foot, racing to get there because he doesn't want to be late for Daisy. And upon getting there, he sees a body on the ground and a person standing over it. Mind you, the two people in the parking lot are Daisy and Slug. One person's on the ground, the other person's standing over the body. So back to Sydney, she's dealing with Tom, and she's like, I don't want to talk to you. So he's like, it's Jake, your ex. And she's like, yes, that's my ex. I told him what's going on. Tom's trying to plead his case. He's like, I need to talk to you. Right when he's doing that and Sydney's protesting, Gretchen and Randy walk up to the building and they're about to go in. So Sydney's like, I don't want to talk to you. And Tom is insisting. Randy actually steps in and is like, bro, she says she doesn't want to talk to you. Move about. And, Gretchen's like, you know what, Sydney, just come in with us. I'll cook dinner. Come up with us. And that's what they do. So while they're going upstairs, Sydney gets a text from Tom saying, "You're in danger, you need to get out of there," in caps. But she's being naive and not really understanding what it's about, so she blocks the number. So while they're upstairs, Gretchen starts to make a casserole, cool, and it happens. Randy pops the question. And it does get Sydney, like, emotional in a good way, because she's like, oh my gosh, they are truly in love. So while she's getting choked up and while Gretchen and Randy are celebrating the fact that Gretchen says yes to the proposal, Sydney's like, I have to use the restroom. She uses the restroom, she flushes the toilet, and it doesn't flush. She opens the lid because she's like, oh, this is probably like a lever issue. You know, this building has issues, and it's a plastic bag. In the plastic bag is a lock of hair. The same sort of lock of hair that was described to have been taken from Bonnie and at least 2 other women when they were being murdered. So Sydney is pretty much validating that Randy's the killer. So Sydney comes out the restroom. Randy's like, yo, what were you doing in there? We were going to come looking for you. You were in there forever. So Sydney's like, oh, I have to leave. Gretchen hops up and is like, no, don't leave. Let's at least have cake. It's our engagement. Like, come on, celebrate with us. While she's saying that, Randy is noticeably getting sleepy and drowsy. Okay? So Sydney thinks that maybe he had too much to drink or something, and now like the celebration is getting to him. Simultaneously, there's a knock at the door, like an aggressive knock that is like not waiting on the doorbell. They're like, let me in, Sydney, let me in. That voice belongs to Tom. So Gretchen's like, oh my gosh, why is Tom still bothering you? I thought we got rid of him. Simultaneously, while she's about to go to the door, Sydney's looking for her phone. She knows she put it back in her purse right after she got the text from Tom, but now it's not in there. So she's like, where's my phone? Where's my phone? Right? Check this out. Gag. You are about to gag. Tom is knocking on the door. He's like, Daisy, you better not hurt her. Sydney's like, Daisy? Who is Daisy? Gretchen? Gretchen's like, Sydney, I need to talk to you about something. And she unlocks the door to let Tom in. Okay, so back to Tom. It is Daisy who is standing over Slug's body. She's killed him. So Tom's like, what's happening? Daisy's like, oh, he attacked me. Right when she says that, Tom happens to look at his phone and sees a message from Slug that's like, yo, hey, my bro, Daisy asked me to meet her here, which happened to be a little earlier than she asked Tom to meet her. So Tom's like, this is odd, because Daisy's trying to say that Slug was trying to attack her, and he was also responsible for Alan's murder. So Tom's like, this is odd. Why would then Slug text me that you were trying to meet him here right before just to come with the intent of murdering you? So Daisy's keeping up her lie. Long story short, Daisy is the one who, yes, killed Slug. She killed Allison because she actually saw what happened when they had the encounter with Allison. She was like looking from afar. She actually saw from the window in the backyard that Tom killed his dad, all of those things. So she was trying to get ahead of the loose ends and take care of it herself. And with her dad being the chief, she figured she could just get away with things and, you know, it not be a big deal. And so she's now pointing this gun at Tom and is like, if you don't go along with this, I'll just pin it on you and Slug, and y'all will both go down and end up taking the blame for all of this, but I'm not going to jail. So there's that. And Tom is just like, why did you do all this? And she's trying to chalk it up to how she loves Tom and she wants to be with him, and that, you know, you keep this secret, we live happily ever after, we can lose our virginity together, we can be together, all those things. And Tom actually obliges and agrees. So now back to Sydney. Tom is in the apartment and he's calling Gretchen Daisy, what is wrong with you? Yada, yada, yada. The whole time Sydney is now starting to get a little weary. So apparently Gretchen put something in their wine. Randy's completely knocked out on the couch. Sydney, because she was like, I only had 1 glass of wine, but she's now starting to feel it. Tom's like, Daisy/Gretchen, what is wrong with you? What are you doing? Why do you continue to show up in this way and ruin all my dates? And, you know, and she's like, I want you. I want to be with you. Like, he's like, I can't even give people my real phone number because you are always showing up and doing something. And she's like, whatever. At least when I murder these women, I do it on a night you have an alibi so that you don't get in trouble. But Gretchen is Daisy from high school. The same one who killed Slug, who killed Allison, who killed Brandy, because she saw Tom and Brandy kiss the night that they did. So she already knew about it. Apparently, she's the peeping Tom because she's always in the right place at the right time to catch her high schooler friends doing stuff. And she gets away with it because she's supposed to be daddy's little girl and her dad's a police chief. But now that they're grown up, she's still on this thing where she's obsessed with Tom, and she always puts herself in proximity with the woman that he's dating. That's why she became friends with Bonnie, because she realized they were dating and she just wanted to get close. So Tom's like, but you're engaged to this man. And she's like, Daisy / Gretchen is like, I don't even like him. And to prove it, she walks over and slashes his throat. Gretchen / Daisy is even like, Tom, does Sydney know why you like her? That her bleeding, because you know Sydney has the nosebleeds, the Willebrand disease, that her nosebleed is what like intrigues you and turns you on. Sydney did not know that, actually. But clearly this is what's happening here. Sydney is becoming a little induced by whatever Gretchen / Daisy gave her, but she's trying to like, her adrenaline is trying to like keep her focused in the moment. If the book pans to a time in Tom's adult life, it's a little before meeting Bonnie and even Sydney, and he's dating this girl named Cindy, and he's thinking like he's only been in love with one woman ever. So him and Cindy are coming from a scary movie. There's a lot of blood shed in the movie, which makes him very excited. You know, Cindy was very excited from the movie as well. But he's thinking, you know, there's only one woman I've ever been in love with. It's Daisy, but she's a psychopath. So when when he gets back from the date, he goes home and he ends up like messaging Daisy Driscoll. And he was like saying that she goes by Gretchen now, but she's a psychopath. But he messages her and basically is like, I miss you. And what you doing, big head? Like, basically, like, I just miss you. And he's like, I don't think I can live without you, Daisy. So in the apartment with Sydney and Gretchen / Daisy and Tom, you hear sirens outside. So now Daisy's like panicking and she's like, oh my gosh, what's happening? What's going on? And Tom's like, I called the police and I told them everything. And they're about to be here to arrest your behind, basically. So Gretchen's like, let's get out of here. Randy showed me a secret passageway. We can get through there. We can finally be together, have a life together, have kids together. And she's like, who are we kidding? I'm the only one who really understands you. So like, let it just be you and I. So he actually agrees to go. But she's like, wait, before we do this, let me just take care of this one thing first, which is Sydney. And Tom's like, if you touch Sydney, I'm not going with you. That's my condition. The murders have to stop. No more murdering people. So you want me to go with you? You can't murder. She obliges because she wants her man. And they get out of there. And finally, Sydney's, whatever like Daisy / Gretchen gave Sydney, it's now officially taken over. But the good thing is the cops are there. So we fast forward to a couple months later. Sydney hasn't seen Tom or Daisy / Gretchen in a while. Clearly they went about to do their own thing. So Jake is back in her life in a mild way, and he's been definitely keeping watch over her, especially after all that's happened. And this particular night, he's offering to bring over burger and fries. She obliges. She happens to check her mail, and there's an envelope that's not addressed, and there's a lock of blonde hair in the envelope. Mind you, the MO of the murderer of Bonnie and some other women was the whole cutting locks of hair thing. So, you know, it's alarming. I mean, she has Jake coming over. We can suspect that her and Jake will end up being together and rekindling that. And then we just hope that Tom and Daisy are of the past and she can just move on. But so far they haven't bothered her. But, you know, remember that when Daisy said, you know, she has to take care of things, Tom was like, you know, we can't just be killing basically any innocent people. And Daisy was like, what if they deserve it? And he's like, that's a different story. So in the envelope with the lock of hair, it says, Sydney, Kevin won't be bothering you again. So we can presume that Kevin has been taken care of, and at least he won't be bothersome anymore. And Sydney can just really move on, be with Jake, and just, you know, live happily ever after. So, whew. That was a roller coaster. That was a ride. I remember reading the book. I was literally like, oh my gosh. When Daisy was revealed to be Gretchen, jaw on the ground. I remember being on the train here in New York City when that happened, and I grabbed the person's arm next to me. I was like, oh. You know what I mean? Like, I literally was like, what? And who? And how? And what? What are you talking about? It was crazy. But this was such a good book by Freida McFadden. I mean, hopefully you enjoyed my review. Hopefully I gave you a great picture of it. Reading the book, like, my review does no justice on actually reading all of the pages and really living in it. But I hope that my review was thorough enough, and I thank you for paying attention. I'll see you for the next review, and you have a good one. All right. Bye, y'all.